Hey guys, this is 11.4, graphing square root functions. So, to graph a square root function, okay, you need to look at a couple different things. So first, a square root function is a function that contains the independent variable in the radicand. So the function y equals the square root of x is the simplest square root function. This is right here. 0, 0 is my starting point, 1, 1, and then 4, 2, all my perfect squares, 9 and 3, all my perfect squares are on here. So it looks like this, okay? Now, what's important to know is you're going to see two different types of functions, okay? And you have to find the domain. The domain is like, what am I going to graph? How am I going to graph this, okay? So how you do this is write this down. You have to make the radicand greater than or equal to 0. So what this means is I'm going to take whatever under the radical sign and I'm going to solve it. X plus 5, and I want it to be greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because I cannot have a negative square root. It's impossible. We've talked about that. You cannot have a negative square root. There's no way to do that. So all my numbers under there have to be greater than or equal to 0. So what you do to find the domain is you just solve this. So you minus 5 from both sides. So then you get x is greater than or equal to negative 5. Now what this tells you is your domain, and it'll tell you where you need to make your table. Your table can start at negative 5 and go up. It has to be greater than, so you can do those values. Or you could do 2, 4, 6, 8. It doesn't matter. Remember, we can choose our own x values to graph. This one looks a little bit different and more intense, but it's the same process. I'm going to take 4x minus 12, and I'm going to set it greater than or equal to 0. Whatever under the radical has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. So I get 4x is greater than or equal to 12. And then I divide by 4. So x has to be greater than or equal to 3. This is my domain. So meaning all my x values have to be greater than 3. So I could start at 3 and go up from there. But a lot of times we start our tables at 0, 1, 2, 3. Well, that would not work for this second equation. You would get points that aren't possible. So what they're also going to ask you to do is graph two different types of graphs. So draw two graphs, label this one with this equation, and this one with this equation. Okay, so if I look, my table has to be values if I did x is greater than or equal to 0, so all my tables have to be greater than or equal to 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's do those. So plug in 0. Square root of 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 1. Square root of 1, let me grab my calculator. Square root of 1 is 1. That was dumb. Plus 4 is 5. Square root of 2 is 1.4. Plus 4 is 5.4. The square root of 3 is 1.7. Plus 4 is 5.7. And the square root of 4 is 2 plus 4 is 6. So now we'll graph this. So if we look at our original graph, we were at 0, 0, 1, 1. 4 was 2. And 9 was 3. So there's our original graph. So now our new graph with this, where I'm adding a number outside of the radical, if I look at the difference, 0 is 4, 1 is 5, and then I have 4 is 6. So it's the exact same graph, however, it gets bumped up 4 units on the graph. It goes up 4 on the y-axis. And then this one's a little bit different. So if I look at this, x plus 3, I want my radicand to be greater than or equal to 0, so negative 3. So x has to be greater than or equal to negative 3. So when I make my table, I'm going to start at negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1. We'll see what we get. So negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1, and the square root of 1 is 1. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. The square root of 2, I don't remember what that is 1.4. 0 plus 3 is the square root of 3, which is 1.7. And 4 is 2. So now if I graph this, let's graph our original equation again. 0, 0, 1, 1. 4 is 2. And 9 is 3. All my perfect squares. Now if we graph this one, negative 3 is 0. Negative 2 is 1. Negative 1 is 1.4. We'll go to 1. So 1 is 2. If you look at this, what happens is if it's under the radical sign, you have to go left that many units. So this is going left 3 units because it's plus 3. And this is plus 4, so you are going up 4 units. So that's how the graphs translate from the original one. You're always going to have that black original line, the y equals the square root of x. That's going to be your home or whatever. And then however you change it is based on the equation. All right, that's it for your notes.